everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 46. Andrew Eisen here, along with nobody. I'm alone, all alone. Zachary is at Super BitCon, and wherever that is, whatever that is, he is not here, but I am. So, I learned something terrible yesterday. It was a blow. It shattered my very reality. I, laid naked, curled up in the bottom of my shower stall for hours on end because I realized Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 does not come out this weekend. I totally thought it did because, all the marketing was in high gear and the reviews were coming out. So I'm like, great, go see Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend. No, comes out next weekend. That bummed me right the hell out because I was all looking forward to go and see it. But, oh well. And I'm on call next weekend, so. Ches was, made you look, yeah. Well, I mean, I'd rather, be confident that there's no one hiding behind the couch. So that shadow is his creepy hanged stuffed animal pole. Yes, it is. It's the stripper pole of stuffed animals right there, which I've shown off a few times before. I wouldn't recommend actually dancing on that pole because it's not secured to the ceiling and it's covered in hooks, which is what the stuffed animals are hanging on. So, all right. So, topic number 1. Nintendo announced the new Nintendo 2DS XL. It costs $149.99, and it's not coming out until July 28th. I believe the same day Hey You Pikmin comes out. No, I'm sorry, Hey Pikmin comes out. See, there was an old game called Hey You Pikachu. But Hey Pikmin, I believe, also comes out on July 28th, so that's when the new Nintendo 2DS XL comes out, which is a new Nintendo 3DS XL, just $50 cheaper and without the 3D. And unlike the original 2DS, which was kind of a slate tablet design, this one's a clamshell design. And it's the blue one, at least, I think is pretty handsome looking. The orange one is kind of, well, it's orange. But as I mentioned on Twitter, it's a good thing I'm not responsible for branding because I would probably have called it, instead of the 2DS, I would call it the 3D less because that's funnier to me. But maybe that's not the best branding in the world. Yeah, so, $150 for the new Nintendo 2DS XL. Yeah, okay. It's fine. Half the price of a Switch. So, double the screens for half the price. Or if you look at it the other way, it's twice the price for half the screens if you're getting a Switch. Unless you count the television, which you shouldn't, because if you're using the television, then the thing is docked and you can't use the screen. So Nick Bradley says I won't be buying one, but I think it looks well made. Yeah, I think it's a handsome piece of kit. I actually like the design. I think it's a pretty sleek design. Again, the blue one I think is pretty handsome. I think the orange one's kind of garish. Cecil has friends in Sweden who have already seen the new Guardians movie. Well, I am jealous of your Swedish friends. Matt says they wish they would let the 3DS die. They're still making games for it. They're, I mean, I think that Oasis, Forever Oasis, what's the Oasis RPG that Nintendo seems to be trying to market, but no one really seems to care about that much. And I might care about it if it weren't on a handheld, because I've tried playing RPGs on handhelds, and It's Jordan Thompson points out 3DS, 3DS XL, new 3DS, 2DS, 2DS XL. Where the heck is my 1DS and 4DS? Gosh, exactly. Um, it's going to be interesting to see how long Nintendo does the multiple pillars thing. You remember back in the gosh, what was it? I guess it was the Wii, the DS, and the Game Boy Advance. They're going to be our three pillars, and everyone was like, no, it's not. You're going to do the console and the new handheld. So it'll be interesting to see if the 3DS, rides off into the sunset, and Nintendo just continues with a hybrid console solution. If they're really having a problem with production resources, maybe that's a good move. They have less SKUs to worry about manufacturing, and then they don't have an issue with making amiibo or making NES Classic editions, which a lot of people are speculating. I think Reggie Fils-Aimé, Nintendo America, said something along the lines of, "We only ever intended this to be a limited item," which, if that's true, Reggie, maybe if Nintendo had given some indication last year that this was a limited item, that was, yeah, we're only making about 2 million of these, so I mean, if you want one, yeah. It was never marketed as limited edition or while supplies. This seemed to be a thing you were going to be able to buy, but still, you would think that, oh, well, gee, we didn't think people would be interested in our amazing games. I don't know why we thought that, but we were really caught with our thumbs up our bums. So most companies would say, let's make more, but not Nintendo. You think they're gonna bob, but they weave. We have a popular product. We're gonna make more of them. Ha ha! We're gonna discontinue the damn thing. Didn't see that coming, did ya? We like to keep you guessing. But hey, we had to make room on the manufacturing lines for the new Nintendo 2DS XL, which rolls right off the tongue, which is why I said it so slow. I wasn't emphasizing it. I was trying to remember the name, and I was remembering it as I was saying it. So, oh my God, what's going on upstairs? Stop it! Oh, Dan. But they don't have the resources, cries Cecil. Says them. Yes, yes. Jordan Thompson, remember when they tried to make the Game Boy Micro third pillar? That is all. Yeah, Game Boy Micro basically being another form factor of the Game Boy Advance. And that was a weird one that I think Reggie or someone just pulled out of his pocket. Maybe it was Iwata. Just pulled it. You haven't seen this? It's like, okay, so it's a Game Boy Advance, only a lot smaller than the already pocket-sized Game Boy Advance, which by that time we were on the Game Boy Advance SP, which was the clamshell design, which folded in half for even. Good Lord, woman, what are you doing up there? For even better pocketability. Yes, pocketability. We made it even smaller. Now it's harder to see. I don't know if the Game Boy Micro, Game Boy Advance Micro, was limited edition or no one wanted one. I've never even seen one. I don't know anyone who has one. I just it's already small enough to fit in your pocket. Why do you want it smaller? I mean, there comes a point where just because you can make it smaller doesn't mean you necessarily should make it smaller. For example, back in the day, let's talk about digital media. We had laser discs, which were the size of vinyl records. They were this damn big, and they came in a plastic box that you had to shove into a giant laser disc player. And they were actually mechanically kind of cool, but it's this damn big. It's not really portable. So now we've got movies on DVDs and Blu-rays, which are this size, and that's fine. Storage media, you had those big floppy disks. Then you had the 5.5s. Then you had the 3.5-inch floppy disks, and those were fine. Those were nice. You could put them in a little box and flip through them. Now you've got thumb drives, and then you've got SD cards, which are postage stamp size, and then you've got micro SD cards, which are even small. It's like, stop, I'm going to lose it in the couch. Just because you can make it smaller doesn't mean you should. I can't physically manipulate the damn thing with my big meaty fingers. If I have to get out a pair of tweezers to insert the physical media in whatever slot it's going into, it's too small. Or my hands are too big. One of the two. But I am a firm believer that things can be too small. Coincidentally, every person I've dated has had the exact same thought. It's a penis joke. Do you get it? Okay. Seraph is like, can I call you on Skype? I want to talk about Laserdisc. Back in the day. Laserdiscs, man. Laserdiscs. You thought all that audio commentary stuff was introduced with DVDs? No. There was real cool stuff like original aspect ratios and special features and trailers on Laserdisc. Yeah. Only they were expensive and huge. And I actually still have an old VCR because I still have a couple old VHS tapes of classic movies, the stuff I would never give up. Like Child's Play and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Halloween 3. Classic movies that I have on VHS that I just don't want to give up. So I keep a VHS player around, and every time I look at it, I forget how damn big that thing is. It's like, it's almost the size of an entire dresser drawer, because it's in the bottom drawer of my dresser, and it takes up nearly the entire thing. It's huge. Very large. Sarah saying this would be an awesome call-in show. That's an interesting thought. Jordan says, Nintendo, more NES classics or a new SNES classics? No. People want a 3DS without the 3D dial. Oh, we'll name it the 2DS XL. Yeah. Jordan also says the people upstairs are thinking, this guy talks to himself every Saturday for an hour. We'll be weirder. We'll show him. Nintendo 2DS. One thing that's interesting is the 2DS XL, the new Nintendo 2DS XL, comes out July 28th, which is a month and change after E3, yet they announced it now. That's interesting. At the very least, I suppose that shows that Nintendo isn't absolutely scraping for things to show off at E3. Because if there was a situation where it's like, oh, dude, we've got nothing. Well, we better save that 2DS announcement for the show because there ain't nothing else. On the other hand, last year was almost all Zelda, so Nintendo will do that. We have one thing for E3. So just because they're confident, just because they showed off something that they could have saved for E3, does not mean that they've just got a ton of stuff to show at E3, and there would be no room for a 2-minute hardware announcement video. So, Seraph, tone that down, or I'm gonna start deleting your comments. And that's really all I have to say about the new Nintendo 2DS XL. It looks fine. The price seems fine. I was a little interested to see him announce it so early. It feels maybe kind of like discontinuing the NES Classic Edition bit of damage control because they're not ready to announce a SNES Classic Edition. It's like, oh man, there was a pooch, and you know what we did to that pooch? We shouldn't have done that to that pooch. That wasn't right. So we'll try to make it right with a hardware announcement. So All right, yeah. And every time they make a mistake, they come out with a new version of the 3DS. So next is going to be the 2DS XL Lite, which is Woodchuck Society is saying, or the 2DS XL Micro. Yeah. Um, okay, so moving on. Let's talk about Super Bomberman R, because I believe it was last week I uh, afforded Konami a few kudos for fixing the frame rate, because they had released patch notes for the game. They'd released a patch and full patch notes, which said more than the standard. We've changes to improve the user experience, which is basically what all of Nintendo. Anytime Nintendo releases a new hardware version, it's we've changed things behind the scenes to improve the user experience. I work in technology. Whenever you see a patch notes or press release that says something like that, what it really means is we found a boo boo and we fixed it, and we're too embarrassed to tell you what that boo boo was. And boo boo could be anything from a something that makes games crashes to a lot of times it's a uh, there was an exploit that someone could have used to copy game data or run homebrew software, things like that. So increased stability, yeah, that's another phrase you'll see a lot. Changes to increase stability and improve the user experience. Yeah, you see that a lot. So what was nice about Konami's patch notes for Super Bomberman R uh, was they were fairly detailed. The frame rate has been improved. We have fixed the game boards have two levels, so we've made the ramps more visible so you can tell where the ramps to the second level are, and this and that and the other thing. It's like, oh, hey, you guys are serious about video games. Honestly, it was hard to tell with all the pachinko machines. um, but so it's really nice to see, even though this is a smaller game. People like Bomberman, and it's nice to see Konami still working on it, bumping up the frame rate to 60 frames per second, and adding some stuff and tweaking gameplay and making the maps more readable. Great stuff. Clappity clap clap clap. According to Digital Foundry, who took a look at the before and after the patch, the game does indeed make a jump from its original 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second. But Konami achieved that frame rate jump. They doubled the frame rate. This is true. But according to Digital Foundry, they doubled the frame rate by halving the resolution. So while the frame rate did jump up from 30 frames to 60 frames, the resolution went down from 1080 to 720. Me personally, if I had to pick between fluidity and resolution, depending on the type of game, I would. I mean, if it's like solitaire, probably resolution, because it's a slow game. You don't really need 60 frames per second. But a fast-paced game like Bomberman, I think the fluidity and more responsiveness in the control is, if you have to pick, preferable to the increased resolution. So I think that is the correct choice if there has to be a choice. But but for a single screen game like Bomberman, are you telling me the Switch honestly is not powerful enough to run Bomberman at 60 frames and 1080p? Really? Because that's kind of sad, man. Boy, my chair is squeaky. It just seems to me that Bomberman is, a simple enough game that it should be able to run 1080p 60 FPS. Maybe Konami is just fallen out of touch with game programming because it's been spending a little too much time with slot machines and pachinko machines. Konami. So let me see. Woodchuck says Bomberman story mode was pretty much impossible for me to beat until the update. Sarah Flex Bomberman 64. I've never really been into Bomberman's a fine game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the game sucks. It's just not a game for me. generally, almost exclusively, if it's primarily a multiplayer game, I'm not a fan of it. For example, I don't like Mario Kart, and it's more accurate to say I don't enjoy playing Mario Kart or Splatoon because I they're multiplayer games, right? For me, gaming is a personal, private activity, right? It's something. It's me time. I don't want to play with other people. I want to play with myself. I'm on a roll with the innuendo tonight. Yes. Ah. Kratos says we knew right from the get-go that the Switch was outdated hardware. Oh, indeed, it is certainly significantly less powerful than its contemporaries, which are they themselves 3.5 years old at this point. But even so, you would expect the 360 and PS3 to be able to run Bomberman at 1080p 60 frames per second, wouldn't you? I mean, it's Bomberman. It's a single screen. It's, it, I mean. So, Laxter says, "Can you choose which you want to update?" As far as I know, there's no menu toggle for you either get to play it at 1080 and 30 frames or 720 and 60 frames. I guess you could just not install the patch, but so far as I know, there is no menu toggle for that. That would be preferable, and that would be nice, but yeah. Sarah says, "I don't know what this irate gamer is talking about or why his hair is so long in this episode. My hair has been this long for for a while. I've been growing it out just to see what it does, and nothing attractive is the answer." Bomberman must have a hell of a time with the TSA. Yeah, probably. I'm fine with, Cecil says, "I'm fine with multiplayer as long as they don't ignore single player. Looking at you, Grand Theft Auto 5. Well, Grand Theft Auto 5 was single player before it had the multiplayer, at least the GTA 5 online stuff. Unless you're saying that they've been ignoring single player since then, which is true, but the single player experience was kind of done, I would say. But okay, show of hands. Not that that's going to do me any good. Can't see any of you, but who thinks Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be on the Switch? Yeah, I don't either. Nintendo's nothing but disappointments anymore. Here's Zelda's pretty good. Laxter, that's true. My hair is longer than last week, and I also showered this afternoon, so my hair is laying a little flatter because it was wet fairly recently. You're wet. Yes, it's raining. Okay, what was I talking about? Oh, Super Bomberman R. Yeah, so I'm going to chalk it up to Konami's incompetence in game design, which has deteriorated because they've been paying way too much attention to pachinko machines, and they've let their game development prowess atrophy. I'm just being mean, and I can. So next topic, Atlus. So Persona 5 came out a little while ago, and other than apparently having one of the worst translations that any game has ever had, not that bad, but from what I'm reading, the translation leaves quite a bit to be desired. Pardon me. So a couple weeks ago on this show, we talked about Atlus. They had a blog post talking about streaming the game. It's a story-based game, so they were concerned that spoilers. Oh my god, I need to WD-40 this chair. Anyway, so at the end of a long blog post, they say if you do plan on streaming video guidelines, blah 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 blah, and then they start. This is in all bold, by the way. Bold letters. It says, If you decide to stream past 7/7, in other words, past July 7th in the game, parentheses, all caps, still bold, I highly recommend not doing this. You have been warned. End parentheses, lowercase, but still bolded. You do so at the risk of being issued a content ID claim or worse, a channel strike / account suspension. Needless to say, gamers didn't take too kindly to that. Oh my god, this chair is driving me nuts. Anyway, I hope the mic isn't picking it up. Too bad. 13U Cube, isn't WD-40 a degreaser? I have no idea. It's a can of aerosol crap that I can spray on stuff. So I'd have to look. So Atlus this week put up a new blog post, an update on Persona 5 and streaming, and I'm going to read it for you now. When Persona 5 launched, we put out a set of video streaming guidelines that we hoped would limit online spoilers for fans who have yet to play the game. To our surprise, we saw numerous reactive news articles go up, opinion videos post, and received many emails asking us, please change our Persona 5 streaming video policy. We recognize that our fans are the reason why the game is the major worldwide success it is, and we continue to want them to be able to enjoy the game without fear of being spoiled. However, we also heard your issues with the guidelines and have decided to revise them because we want to give players the most access to the game while respecting the original goal. We're now asking players to refrain from streaming or posting video past the end of the in-game date of 11/19, when the main story gears up for the final act. We also want to apologize to those of you who saw the previous guidelines blog post as threatening. So they're apologizing to anyone who may have interpreted all caps bolded letters saying you will be banned and get a content ID claim, channel strike, account suspension if you do this. They want to apologize if you interpreted that as threatening. I mean, that's your fault for misinterpreting it, but we're sorry that you're an idiot and interpreted our all bold, all caps, your account will be suspended as a threat. It's amazing to us that anyone would interpret it that way, but apparently some people are dumb, so we want to apologize for your stupidity. At least that's how I'm interpreting this blog post. Maybe a further blog post will apologize for my stupid interpretation of this blog post. All right, so it goes on. We want to be transparent about what we do, and the reason we released the guidelines was to give streamers the right information up front. It was never our intention to threaten people with copyright strikes, even though that's exactly what we did. But we clearly chose the wrong tone for how to communicate this. Yeah, all caps bold, maybe not the best tone. Lastly, we want to thank our fans around the world for supporting Persona 5 and Atlus. The game is a global success because of your passion for the series, and we're happy that so many of you are enjoying it. I'm still under the impression that Papa Sega kind of made Atlus do that. They say, no, you tell them sons of bitches that if they stream past this again, we will put a copyright strike on their YouTube channel and we will have all 10 cents that they make this month. Harumph. That's my guess anyway. Seraph asked what my house smells like. Cinnamon with a hint of peppermint. And a little strawberry and kiwi. But mostly wet hair. Yeah, wet hair. Get says WD-40 is amazing and can be used for everything. Most recently, I used it on the hood of my car where my nieces put stickers thinking it would be funny to decorate the car for April Fools. I could have killed them. But WD-40 worked. It would also work on Brother's chair. You know, I wonder if WD-40 would work on her nieces. Matthew points out that Sega Japan, not Sega US. Sure, yeah, yeah. And Sega, for anyone who doesn't know, owns Atlus right now. So, now Atlus, now that we've got all that nasty, that misunderstanding cleared up, I'm not sure how that happened, but now that that's clear, maybe take another pass at that translation, because I've seen a few examples and they're a little rough. Jordan says, "Love how your sister is in the next room on the chat rather than sitting next to you." Effort. well, I mean, she's my sister is not in the next room. She's in the same room. She's right over there, but she's doing stuff and keeping an eye on the chat. So Kelly says the next time the girls have math problems, they'll just spray them with WD-40. They'll ace the test for sure. Yeah. All right. Next topic. Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah, this one. Okay. In the faraway magical land of Japan, there are these things called arcades. Oh, I'm going to throw this chair through a window, I swear. And in these arcades, 2 years ago, a game called Tekken 7 was introduced. It was the 15th Tekken game, even though it's called Tekken 7, because Tekken Tag Team Tournament doesn't count as Tekken. That's its own series with its own sequel. So Tekken 7 came out in Japanese arcades a couple years ago. They're gearing up for the console versions of Tekken 7, which come out in May, I believe. And Video Games 24/7 had an interview with Mr. I didn't write his name down. Harada something. Let me look at his name here. Not that it really matters, but if I'm going to say his name, Katsuhiro Harada, who's the executive producer of Tekken. So, nice big interview. Towards the bottom of the interview, at the end of the interview, it comes out that Kangaroo Jack, which is absolutely not the character's name, in Tekken 2, I think, there was a character named Roger, who is a kangaroo with boxing gloves. Yep, kangaroo with boxing gloves. Jack and his son, Roger and his son Roger Jr. have been in a couple of the Tekken games, and so it goes with Tekken 7. I think it's Roger Jr. Who's in Tekken 7 in the arcades, but apparently Roger Jr. has been cut from the console version of Tekken 7. Why, you may ask? And you absolutely may ask that. That is a completely appropriate question to ask. Well, Mr. Harda, he said, there was a video of a man's dog being headlocked by a kangaroo, and he punched it in the face, the kangaroo, not the dog. It turned into a big problem. People were complaining about him punching a kangaroo, even to save his dog, I suppose. It seems that in the last few years, there's a lot more animal activists, even though they probably wouldn't play our game. They would still hear about that, about a kangaroo in our game being punched, and would complain about it. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. So, they have apparently decided to remove the boxing kangaroo character from the console release of the video game because they are afraid that some animal activist might complain. Not firebomb the development studio, just complain. You might be thinking, who cares? Because that's what I'm thinking. I mean, if you release Tekken 7, which again has been out for 2 years, and an animal activist complained, so people complain about all kinds of things all the time. Why is an animal activist complaint worth removing an entire character? That makes no sense to me. Now, keep in mind, it's totally possible that Mr. Harda did not articulate his point very well. It's totally possible that some nuance was lost in the translation from original Japanese to English. If Mr. Harda had said something along the lines of, we are concerned that some players playing our game might get the idea that punching kangaroos is cool and try to punch a kangaroo and get their asses handed to them by kangaroos, because kangaroos will probably kick your ass. Okay, that's at least a sensical reason, right? I mean, it's like, well, I mean, sucks for everybody who enjoys that character to have to forfeit a character they enjoy because one or two people are phenomenally stupid. I mean, that's a damn shame that a couple people have to ruin it for everybody else. But at least that's a reason. You know, we're afraid that this will inspire people to do something stupid that will get them hurt. Also, not good for kangaroos either, I would imagine. I mean, that's nice, but maybe completely removing the character from the game is not the most elegant of solutions. Maybe there's a middle ground that can be reached. Also, I couldn't punch a kangaroo if I wanted to because they're not here in America, except maybe at a couple zoos. In fact, kangaroos are not exactly ubiquitous. Far as I know, they're mostly just Australia. I mean, maybe just remove the character from the Australian version of the game? I mean, you screw over Australia with the price gouging anyway, you may as well take it to the next level and deny them one of the game's characters, right? They're probably already paying $100 Australian for the game. What's one less character? Um, yeah, weird story this week. Um, I'll answer that in a bit. Let me see. Seraph, I'm getting very close to banning you from the chat. Stop it. Um, let's see. Someone please think of the virtual kangaroos. Yeah, it's interesting because there's a bear character in the game. Are we afraid that someone's going to go try to fist fight a bear? No, we're not, because, and it actually says this in the interview somewhere. Let me see if the a bear is, quote, obviously stronger than a human being. Okay. If you're really stupid, I could imagine a really stupid person thinking that they could take a kangaroo and come out I fist fight a kangaroo and be a big enough asshole to actually try, like fly to Australia if you don't already live there. The other thing I was wondering is Roger has been in the Tekken series since the second game, which was in the 90s somewhere. I mean, it's been like 20 years. I looked. I can't say, I can't claim that my Google foo is the most impressive foo that has ever Googled, but I couldn't find anything. So, has animal activists complaining about Roger in Tekken like ever happened? Ever? Like ever in the 20 plus years Roger has actually been a character in this fairly well-known series of fighting games. Tekken is not exactly an obscure franchise. It ain't niche, you know? Tekken 7 has been out in Japanese art. And now I know kangaroos are not indigenous to Japan or anything, but the game has been. We are in a globally connected society. We are aware of Tekken 7. Has any animal activist ever complained about Roger? Ever? And even if they have, so what? Maybe I'm missing something. Vegans think we tougher chickens. Not sure what you're trying to say there. Have you ever tried to catch a chicken? It's hard. Ever run after a lettuce heads? No, you can't. That plant is stuck in the ground. Nah, I'm missing the joke there. Cecil says, meanwhile, kicking turtles in Mario. Someone think of the virtual turtles. Yeah, I mean, PETA did raise a stink a couple of years ago with Battlefield, Call of Duty. You know you can't tell them apart. Whichever one it was, where there's a sequence where you're crawling through a sewer tunnel and there's a rat in front of you and you stab the rat and move it out of your way. PETA threw a fit about that one. And, you know, there's something to be said about, I think it's totally fine to use these video game examples to start an important conversation about animal cruelty, about respecting the other creatures that walk the earth. I think that's great. But you know, I think removing Roger from the game is not the right choice. Even if the idea here was a genuine fear of people trying to fist fight kangaroos, because somehow Tekken gave him the idea that fist fighting a kangaroo is a good idea. It just seems to me that there's got to be a better solution than simply removing the character from the game. Because it's a cool character, man. I like Roger. It's a kangaroo with boxing gloves. It's awesome. There are some wacky characters in the Tekken franchise, and I love wacky characters. Oh, well. So, let's see. Jordan says, what I love is these characters have been around forever, and only now they are questioned. What? Here's the thing, though, Jordan. So far as I know, still, no one has questioned this. How the interview reads is not people are complaining about Roger. It's we're afraid someone might complain about Roger, so we're going to nip it in the bud by removing the character. No one's complained. Nobody has complained. It's not a problem. It's never been a problem. As far as I know, nobody has ever complained about Roger, and other than I've heard complaints. Roger sucks. He's stupid. It's not realistic. Like the bear or the guy with the lion head is realistic. It's a video game. It's not real. It's supposed to be fun. I mean, if you think a fighting game with kangaroos is stupid, you know, that's cool. Plenty other game. Maybe Primal Rage is more your speed. You know, the one with the farting giant ape. Yeah, and again, I'm seeing a few more comments. I want to stress that as far as I've been able to determine, literally no animal activists have complained about this. None. There have been no complaints. This is kind of like when they took Mika's ass slap out of they reframed the camera in Street Fighter V to cut Mika's ass slap out of the frame, because a woman with big jiggly boobs and a thong is totally fine, but if she pats her butt, that's somehow too far. That's where people are going to draw the line. And again, that change was made before the game released. So that was one of those anticipatory changes, one of those changes that the developer said, Oh man, people are going to be totally fine with the big boobed gal in the thong, but if she slaps her butt on camera, oh, people are going to have a fit. I know this, so we better reframe it so people don't actually see her hand coming in contact with her butt. I mean, the thing where she launches herself ass first into the face of another character, that's totally fine. That's adorable, right? But I mean, if she pats her bare bum with her own hand, oh man, we might trigger World War III with that one. Better reframe the camera. Or what? Just makes. I mean, it's hard to get mad about some of this stuff because it's just so nonsensical. Um, it's like I don't. I mean, there seems to be no It's hard to if there were malice behind. It's like we just want to change it to make people mad or something weird like that. It's like, well, that's scummy, but it's like we're just we don't know what the hell we're doing. It just kind of becomes funny in a way. Um, so yeah, I don't agree with removing Roger, at least for the reasons stated in the interview. As stated in the interview, they say they removed Roger because they're afraid an animal activist might complain. My opinion, but that doesn't strike me as a reason to remove an entire character from the game. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's see what we're going on in the comments here, the chat. In Street Fighter, you kick a bear's behind. In Street Fighter? Like the original Street Fighter? I don't remember that. All the original Street Fighter characters are human, aren't they? I know Zangief in Street Fighter 2 wrestles bears, and I think he does that in like a single panel cutscene or something. But let's see. Can you react to it in the stream? Most devs should handle that the way. Matthew says most devs should handle it the way Yoko Taro did. Oh, the Nier Automata guy. He was asked about B2's look, and he said, "I like pretty girls." Yeah. Um, the I haven't played Nier Automata. I'd like to, mainly because everyone says it's amazing, and I'm like, okay. But apparently, there's at least some costumes that are a little butt-tastic. Um, and some people ask the creator and says, "Okay, what's with this character's butt hanging out?" And the creator said, "I like it like that." Well, okay then. I mean that's a fair reason. I rendered this butt like that because that's the way I like butts. Hey, fair enough. If you disagree, you are absolutely free to criticize his decisions. It's like, well, I don't like butts like that, and I'm going to say so. Good on you. Let's see. Wait till Tekken makes a female Roger, then we'll get the feminists and PETA. Oh, Jordan, stop it. River, Andrew, posters on Miiverse who posted Tokyo Bad Bug. Tokyo Mirage Sessions with the decensor hack have had their accounts banned. I'm that doesn't surprise me at all. Nintendo's very anti. Don't you dare do anything with the hardware that you bought. I wonder if Nintendo banned my. I've actually talked about. I did run homebrew on my Wii U so that I could patch in the stuff that Nintendo of America took out of Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE in the American localization. Um, I bought the game. I own it. It's sitting over there on my shelf, but I did dump the game off of the disc, put it on a SD card, and then patched in the files that are the content that was removed from the game. So I'm essentially just playing the Japanese version with English subtitles because that is, as a gamer and a human being with personal wants, that's how I prefer to play the game. Uh, and I personally don't see a problem with that. Nintendo, on the other hand, does. So if you start sharing links to where you can uh, get a utility to dump the data off of your game disk, because you could share that online, and then people would say, well, I don't need to buy the game now because someone dumped the game and now I have a copy of the game. But I would never do that because that's a crappy, crummy thing to do. I dumped it so that I could patch in the stuff that Nintendo took out, decided that was not appropriate for my little eyes. Um, and we've talked at length on this show about how mind-bogglingly inconsistent and weird the localization choices for Tokyo Mirage Sessions are. But to River's point, it does not at all surprise me that Nintendo banned any Miiverse accounts that were talking about uh, hacking the system or patching things or getting utilities to dump games off disks. Here's the thing, Nintendo. Wow, this squeaky chair. Okay, Nintendo, I'm going to make this very clear and very simple for you. If you hadn't have made stupid, nonsensical localization decisions for the North American release or Western release in general of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, people wouldn't be talking about how to patch in the stuff you took out of the game on Miiverse, and you wouldn't have to go through the bad publicity of banning people's accounts. You see how that works? When you give gamers what they want, which is the game, then we don't have to do it ourselves. You sold us a game with pieces missing. We went and got the pieces and put them back in the game. If you hadn't have taken the pieces out in the first place, we would have just bought the game and played it and been happy, and none of this would have ever been a problem. See how that works? Now, maybe you're thinking, but most Americans would like it better with those pieces missing. Maybe that's true. I would put money that it's not, but maybe that's true. In which case, the proper solution would be to offer a choice, which I've talked about on past episodes. There are several different approaches you could take to offering a choice for the Japanese version, the original uncut version, and the slightly altered American version. Give us a choice. Choice is better. You know, most people prefer to have a choice of which language track they'd rather listen to. A lot of people who play Legend of Zelda's Breath of the Wild would like the choice of deciding whether they want to listen to the Japanese vocal track or the English vocal track. When you deny them that choice, when you say, no, you don't get a choice, you will play it the way we want you to play it, there are gamers who will give you the middle finger and work on playing the game how they want to play it anyway. If you don't want them to do that, then give them the choice in the first place. And in this particular matter, the English and Japanese vocal tracks are both on the same damn cartridge. So everyone playing Breath of the Wild should be able to choose the language and choose the subtitle track. Yeah, not hard. Wow, this chair. This chair has never squeaked like this before. It's the weird. Let me see if I can just maybe turn it around or something, see if it still does the same thing. Huh. Maybe it's just that side. Weird. Anyway. And I know I'm speaking like I know everything and I'm like the superest, most smartest person in the whole world, and I could run Nintendo better than Nintendo could run Nintendo, even though Nintendo's been running Nintendo longer than I've been around. But I am, and I could. So, all right, let's see what's going in the chat. So, 13U Cube, that's something you asked a little bit earlier. Do I prefer Dragon Warrior 2 or 1? I know you love 3 and 4, but 2 never seems to get the love it deserves. um, it's a good question. I mean, one, of course, being the first holds a special place in my heart just for being the first. But I think the games genuinely kept improving. So I'd say Dragon Warrior 2 in a lot of ways just is certainly a step up from the first one. I love the whole series, the classic series, Dragon Warrior 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've never played 5, 6, or 7, even though they were available on the DS. I tried playing 9 on the DS, and I actually made it about 30 hours, but because I love RPGs and I love Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest, but it, every time I played it, I'm sitting there with my DS going, looking at my TV, looking at the DS and going, I just don't want to play it here. I want to play it there on my TV. I don't want to play the game on the handheld. 8 is great. I played 8 on the PS2 with my mom, who lives in a different state. So it took us about 3.5 years to beat the game because we'd only play it because I only go out there once or twice a year. So Dragon Quest X is the MMO, which I don't care about. Dragon Quest 11 looks really cool. I'm really looking forward to that when that comes out. Um, Matthew talking about creators saying, "Hey, this is how I like it." Compare that to Kojima's thing. They ran with his excuse, but had almost nowhere to go with it. I think if you're referring to Kojima's explanation of Quiet's outfit, here's the thing: is Kojima. Yoko Taro, or whatever the guy's name for Nier Automata, and others have said, look, I like armor with boobs built into the breastplate. I like girls with fantastic butts and thongs wiggling their bums in video games. That's what I like. That's the kind of art I'm going to make. Uh, Hopefully these creators are also open into having discussions of representation and topics like that. I hope they're open to the actual discussions, even if they ultimately listen and understand. Even if they ultimately say, "I see what you're saying. I understand why uh, variety and diversity and representation of women, minorities, all kinds of different things in games is important. But this is what I like, and this is what I'm going to make." Now, maybe within that little bubble of my own personal preferences, there are things I can do to help it appeal more broadly and to make some of the from certain perspectives, problematic aspects less problematic. I hope they're open to discussions like that. I really, really do. But I also appreciate people who just say, hey, look, this is what I like, and this is the kind of art that I draw. Because it's the kind of art that I draw. It's what I like. And that's totally fine. Um, Kojima with Quiet originally said there's a really good story reason for her to be wearing a thong and ill-fitting bra and ripped fishnet tights. And you're going to feel really bad about yourself when you find out that really good story reason. You're going to write me an I'm sorry card. See if you don't. And then the game came out and she breathes through her skin. Which makes as much sense as anything else in the Metal Gear games. I mean, it's whatever. It's stupid. It's fine. But um, if I'm reading Matthew correctly, I think what he's going for is Kojima really would have been better served saying, because I think she's sexy like that, and everyone would have been Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Kojima, let me. I notice you have this sniper character who's dressed in an ill-fitting bra, which her cleavage is spilling out of, and a leather thong, which I think would chafe if you were sweating in the deserts of Afghanistan or wherever the hell they are, and ripped fishnet tights. Now, I'm no mind reader, but I was racking my brains for the reasons you might have designed the character this way, and I'm thinking, what does this outfit speak to how does this outfit speak to the character's wants and needs and personality and how they act and how they behave and what their background is? And then I thought, maybe the creator just like big boob women in thongs. Do you just like big boobed women in thongs? And Kojima says, I like big boobed women in thongs. And we all would have said, yeah, that's what we thought. Okay. Just want to make sure. I mean, the breathing through the skin thing is still kind of dumb, though. You know what? When I played Metal Gear Solid 5, great game, by the way, probably definitely one of the, if not the worst opening to any game ever. Oh my goodness. The opening of Metal Gear Solid 5 sucks. It is so bad. It is one of the worst openings to any game ever. Once the game actually shuts up and lets you play, it's pretty great. Until it goes into cutscenes, and then you're like, stop, no story, let me play. So I played Metal Gear Solid 5, loved it, great game, recommend it. I killed Quiet. She pops up in chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere around there. She ambushes you, and she shot my horse. And so you get in a fight with her, and at the end of the fight, you can choose to double tap her in the face, or spare her and take her back to the Metal Gear base where you. I guess you're brainwashing all the people that you kidnap. Because in this game, you find enemy combatants, and if you don't kill them, you just tie a balloon to their belt and send them back to your base where they're happy to work for you. I don't know what brainwashing program is going over there. I think you're the bad guy in this game. I'm pretty sure you're the bad guy. So anyway, you can kill Quiet, or you can take her back to the base, and she becomes one of your companion characters, like Dee Dee, your dog, or your horse, or later in the game, a walker, a little mini Metal Gear. I shot her in the face because she shot my horse. And I never replayed that mission to not shoot her, so she was dead throughout the entire game. And when you switch from chapter 1 to chapter 2, there's kind of a next time on Metal Gear Solid preview, which has Quiet in it, because the game really doesn't think you're going to kill her because it's a big boobed woman in a thong. And who would shoot her in the face? She shot my horse. I don't take that lying down. So anyway, I really should go back and not kill Quiet so that I can try her out as a partner and see what she does in the game, because I've never seen it. Because I shot her in the face. She's an asshole. I just riding my horse, minding my own business, and she shoots my damn horse out from under me. I'm like, what the hell? Rude. Anyway, what the hell was I talking about? Scotty J Man says, looks like there'll be a Mega Man Collection 2. Yeah, I read something about that. I didn't read any further. PS4, Xbox One, and PC. No mention of Switch or 3DS. Surprise. I mean, after all, Disney Saturday morning collection just came out. DuckTales 1 and 2, Tailspin, Rescue Rangers 1 and 2, and Darkwing Duck. Those classic Nintendo games. Those classic Nintendo games that you played on Nintendo back in the 90s on Nintendo just came out on everything but Nintendo. Maybe they just wanted to give everybody else a chance for a change. Anyone think Activision's going to release the new Call of Duty for Switch? Show of hands. I can't see any of you, but I'm pretty sure no one's raising their hand. Uh, River asks, did I play Twin Snakes on the GameCube? Yes, I did. And it's I first played Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation, and then I stopped playing it on the PlayStation because the PlayStation sucked. I know some of you have fond memories of it, but it's true. The PlayStation was an incredibly crap piece of hardware that couldn't draw a straight line or render a texture that didn't make you want to barf. So I played Metal Gear Solid very briefly on the original PSX, and I'm like, I just can't. I can't. But I did play Twin Snakes on the GameCube, and when the game shut the hell up and allowed you to play, I found it very, very enjoyable in that goofy Kojima way. The game is short. It's about 6 hours front to back. Short, but not like offensively short. I mean, that's about as short as you could possibly get a full retail AAA game without, raising hackles. So 6 hour game, not too bad. Until you realize that only 3 of those hours are actual gameplay. I am not kidding. Half of those 6 hours are cutscenes and codec conversations, which you can skip, but you paid $50 or whatever for the game. You may as well get some mileage out of it. But when the game shuts the hell up, I swear to God, there's a 20-minute cutscene in that game. I think it's the one with Otacon that introduces the ninja. That cutscene. Oh my God, it's so long. The cutscenes are so long in this game. Yeah, 3 hours of gameplay, 3 hours of movies and codec conversations. But what gameplay there is really, really good. So I did play it. I did like the game. Let's see. Kelly says Metal Gear 5 is the one with the build your face, even though we won't reuse it, right? Yes. Yes, that's the one. The one where they're like, hey, here we're gonna have the character creation thing. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. If I spend, like I normally do, 2 hours creating a character, I've seen footage of this game, and I have never seen anyone but Snake as the protagonist. So whatever character I make here, you're gonna do a switcheroo with the other guy, and that's the guy with. You're gonna do. That was the most clumsy thing I've ever seen in a game. I can almost imagine Kojima like patting himself on the back so hard. He's like, "Oh my God, I am M. Light Shyamalan with this shit. This is gonna be it's gonna blow their minds if they ever remember it 100 hours later." But yeah, that's the one with the use. Oh my God, this chair. I may drag the couch closer to my desk or something. Maybe I should just stop rocking the chair here. But let's see. Jordan, here's a theory: was real characters were real, and here's a theory: what if this was reality? Let's say video game characters were real, and we're like extreme actors, and when not working on games, they live in our society, and when the series dies, continue. What kind of jobs would they get? So, what if the world was kind of like Wreck-It Ralph? So when we're not playing them, they're just all kind of hanging out in the power chords and having beers and stuff. Yeah. Hmm. Could Mario survive in the real world? He's spent. I mean, depending on which canon you're looking at, one of the popular ones is he was a Brooklyn plumber, and then he got sucked down the drain and ended up in the Mushroom Kingdom, which is where he doesn't see. There's nothing in the Mario canon that really indicates that he goes home regularly. He seems to spend pretty much all his time in the Mushroom Kingdom. So, I think if he went back to Earth, it would just freak him right the hell out. He'd be, "Mamma mia! Oh God, oh God." I just can't deal with this. On the other hand, there's a semi-realistic level in the new Mario Odyssey, so maybe you could swing with it easily. Who knows? Um, if you want weird, McDonald's has two anime shorts. I've seen one of them, and it's adorable, but you're right, it is really weird. Um, Quiet has River says Quiet has an all gold body paint camo unlock. I'm not surprised. And Venom Snake's tuxedo camo, I can imagine playing as 007. Oh, Goldfinger, sure. That makes sense. That might have been the inspiration for those costumes, skins, whatever. Um, I every game is improved with a dress up mode. I even Tetris somehow. Uh, it's a simple thing. Well, maybe not a simple thing to code, or because you have to design everything and build the interface and stuff. But I absolutely love dressing up my characters in video games. It's something I will spend more time. Maybe it's one of the reasons why I really like Monster Hunters, because you get to build all kinds of fun armors and mix and match and great stuff. Uh, Kratos says Nintendo, where big AAA third-party games have no place. I can't really argue with that. I mean, at least that seems to be the case. I mean, maybe the Switch will just be so damn popular that the big third-party companies will have no choice but to release, at the very least, versions of their games on the Switch, because they'd be leaving money on the table. And who would leave money on the table? Nintendo. Let's see. River says PS1 lacked a Z buffer, what the N64 had that helped the system render 3D better. Yeah, I mean, the PlayStation was the one among the first crop of full 3D game consoles, and there were growing pains. And the N64 certainly wasn't perfect either. The N64 games. If you could, what adjectives would you use to describe the look of N64 games? For me, one of them would definitely be blurry. Um, they were definitely blurry. I mean, go back and play Ocarina of Time, and now the Ocarina of Time 3D remake on the 3DS. That's how you remember it looking. If you have an N64, dig out the N64 and plug Ocarina of Time in and play that again. It's still a great game, but holy crap, I don't remember it looking this bad in '98. I was in high school. I'm old. uh, let's see. Still a better system with 40 megabyte carts. Just kidding. I love my N64. Yeah, well, there's it was a give and take, right? I mean, the PlayStation did it used a lot of the major differences between the N64 and the original PlayStation were the medium, the optical disc versus the cartridge. And optical discs, of course, were could hold a lot more for a lot less. Optical discs are cheap to print. Cartridges are expensive, and the more data they hold, the more expensive they get. On the other hand, you can save stuff to a cartridge. You can also do weird stuff like, remember the FX chip, which the SNES used for games like Star Fox and things like that. You could put custom chips and stuff on the actual cart. It's expensive, but you could do stuff like that. With the PlayStation, what's in the PlayStation is what you get. Because of the optical discs on the PlayStation, you have this beautiful streaming audio, just wonderful high bit rate, wonderful quality symphony audio. The N64, on the other hand, because of size issues and compression, is lower quality music, and a lot of times you wouldn't have big symphonic soundtracks. You'd have MIDI tunes. But because it was on cartridge and you had that access speed, the N64 was able to do a lot more with adaptive melodies. And you heard a lot of that stuff. Probably Banjo Kazooie is a really good example with the way that the audio could seamlessly blend with other audio tracks. Um, you know, going into other audio tracks and adding bits and pieces. The PlayStation really struggled to do that because it was basically a CD player. It's like go to track one, go to track two, go to track three. It wasn't really great at adaptive music that really adapted to what you were doing at the time. Now, there were ways to kind of fake that. So, all in all, yeah, there were pros and cons to both systems. Personally, I like the N64 better because, well, you know, Nintendo fanboy. Also, I think all in all, the N64 was capable of better visuals. I think the texture rendering was a lot cleaner on the N64. Well, I think it was a lot cleaner on the N64. Um, Blurrier. Nintendo blurred it a lot. The PlayStation was just chunky, blocky pixels, and the N64 is a lot better at, you know, simple stuff like drawing straight lines. Have you ever played the original Tony Hawk on it? Play the original Tony Hawk on a PlayStation. Find a nice long rail and grind it. Now look at that rail. It looks like a sine wave because the PlayStation can't draw a straight line. It makes me queasy. 13U Cube points out that Breath of the Wild has dress up. I know. I'm really excited to play that game at some point. I'm really only waiting on the price to drop a bit and for Nintendo to announce, which seems like it's probably going to be E3 announces what the DLC is actually going to be. Because I'm the kind of guy that if you announce DLCs, I'm like, ooh, awesome game. I'm going to buy it. Got my wallet. Well, I was going to use the visual aid, but my wallet's in the other room. I'm getting my wallet out. Oh, DLC? The game's incomplete. You're okay. No, it's all right. You let me know when you're going to sell the entire game, and then I'll decide if the price is right. I'm good. I got a whole shelf of games I haven't played yet, so you know I'll wait. Marvel versus Capcom Infinite is a great example of this. They just released Capcom just released a gameplay trailer and a character trailer for it, and they just announced all kinds of stuff. So far we know I think like 8 or so characters in the game, maybe 10, and they're saying, oh, it comes out in September. It's $60, and it's like, okay, how many characters? We're not telling. Well, there's at least 8. We know of 8 characters. It might be 10. And Capcom saying $60 September, and I'm like, okay, yeah, well, you know, Marvel versus Capcom, great series of games. Let me dig out my wallet, and then Capcom says for $30 more, you get 6 more characters. I'm like, which characters? Wait a minute. You're already selling more. How many characters are in the base game that I'm already paying $60 for? Which characters are in the base game? Which characters are, you know, this is the kind of stuff that makes me say, okay, I'm going to wait for the Game of the Year edition. I am not playing with this stuff. And that's me personally. That's just I want the entire game. I don't want to buy the game and then keep buying more pieces to the game. I also don't want to buy a game and suffer through, you know, an unstable frame rate or bugs and then beat the game, and then you release a patch, you being the developer releases a patch that fixes the damn game, and now I feel obligated to play the entire game again so that I can have the proper experience that I should have had the first time. Pardon. Got a little heated there. That Ocarina of Time frame rate, buttery smooth 20 frames per second. At the best of times. Yeah. It's an old game, but Ocarina of Time is one of those games where, as long as you excuse the technology of the time, the low frame rate, the blurry textures, things like that, the game is a masterpiece. The game is almost perfect. I mean, you think design and mechanics wise, there's almost nothing wrong with the game. I mean, it's like you think about it, it's like, what did the game do wrong? What's the thing in the game? I guess a lot of people say the water temple. Maybe really, I think the water temple is fantastic. A lot of the problem that people have with the water temple, generally speaking, of course, is just the pain in the ass that it was to take the iron boots on and off. For those of you who don't know, water temple is a temple that's filled with water. So you put on the iron boots and you sink like a stone to get down to the lower levels, and you take off the boots to float up to the upper levels, right? Great. Unfortunately, it wasn't a matter of just hitting one of the C buttons to flip the boots on and off. I think they actually added that in the remake for the 3DS. But in the original game, you have to pause, you have to flip over to the other screen, move the cursor over to the boots, remove them, unpause, and then you start floating up. And you're like, oh crap, I missed it. And you pause, flip over to the other page, go, okay, here are the boots, select, unpause, okay, sinking back down to. It's kind of like the sail in Wind Waker, the original version of Wind Waker, where sailing, in my extraordinarily humble opinion, was very, very boring. So you'd set the wind in a direction, you'd hoist your sail, and you'd go, and you'd set your controller down and wait for a couple minutes till you actually got where you were going. And maybe you were browsing on your phone, probably not in 2003. You didn't have smartphones yet, but you're doing something else, and you're like, oh crap! I just sailed straight past the thing, and then you're thinking, oh man, ah shoot. Okay, all right. So I have to. I could either hold the R button to troll, which means move the boat really, really, really slowly through the water back to the where the point I missed. Link can actually swim faster than the boat can move. Or take out the wand of whatever and play the Wind's Requiem. Da 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 da, and that goes da 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 da. That sounds more Metroid than Zelda, but and then cutscene with the wind going whoo, and it plays, and it's only like 15 seconds or so, but damn it, I just sat here for 2 minutes trying to get where I was going. I don't want another 50. Screw it, I'm jumping off the boat and I'm going to swim for the island and hope I don't drown first. That was my experience playing Wind Waker, and I love Wind Waker. It's a great game. I stayed up till 4 in the morning many, many, many nights in a row with that game, but biscuits was the sailing boring. Please speak in a really deep voice. Asks Enzo Zamudio. Okay. Technically, you need to buy 4 amiibo and DLC for the complete game. Oh, for Breath of the Wild. Yeah, well, yeah, but at least I know what the amiibo stuff does. Mostly, it just gives you crap that you could get in the game, and I don't care. The other one brings Wolf Link into the game, which is cute, but it's something where it's like, is that worth $14 for the amiibo? For me, no. I believe the biscuit. Why do I have biscuits on the brain? The Wolf amiibo also unlocks that endless dungeon, the Cave of Trials, or whatever it's called, which I don't much care about. So. River, how many video games does everyone have? I have, including physical and digital. Oh, hell, I don't know. I haven't counted. I do know that I have approximately 90 games for the Wii. For some reason, I counted that once. I think that's the most I have for any given. I'm sure I have way more than that for the PC. But so hundreds easily. And they're all retail. Almost all of them are retail. If they could be bought retail, they're bought retail. Um, do you think Disney characters will appear in Marvel versus Capcom Infinite like Darth Vader? Ooh, that is a good question. Um, possibly as special DLC, probably not included in the actual season pass. The season pass will cover this whatever the 6 extra characters are. But if they do something like Darth Vader or Rey or someone or Finn or whoever or Kylo Ren, I would imagine that that would be a special standalone thing, kind of like the Mercedes car was for Mario Kart 8. Uh, if I'm remembering correctly, that did not come in the DLC packs. That was a separate special thing, although it is included in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I believe. Um, it's certainly possible, but there's a danger there of brand confusion because most people think Marvel versus Capcom, and they're Marvel superheroes and Capcom characters. And technically, while Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars is not Marvel. So Darth Vader is not a Marvel character, although it could do that if it wants to make a lot of money. I mean, that would sell. So, Nightmare Ninja, hey, by the way, if you didn't notice, I answered that great question you had that you messaged me a while ago in the previous podcast. Let's see. People are saying Kelly should be here, but this is my show. Also, I only have the one mic, so I can't really mic her. I'd have to make her go somewhere else and like call into the Google chat too. Maybe you could go over to Super Metal Dave's and borrow his computer. I'm gonna need you to leave so that you could join me on the show. Matthew says, I haven't been to a GameStop in years, and it appears a lot of people aren't shopping there anymore. I have friends who work at GameStop. I hate GameStop. I never go there unless I have to. I think I've bought, let me see, I believe I bought Guitar Hero 3 at GameStop because it was on sale. I bought Rune Factory Frontier at a GameStop because it was the only place I could find that game. I bought my PS4 at a GameStop because it was both on sale and came with a $25 gift card, I believe. So, let's see. But yeah, I think digital is slowly taking over. Much like video streaming is slowly taking over. Hasn't completely taken over yet, but we are heading in that direction. So, ever played Star Wars Episode 3 video game multiplayer? It has a Jedi fighting game attached to it. Probably the best one out there. Too bad, never got a push. Star Wars Episode 3 video game? I'm not sure what that is. Last game you bought at GameStop was Red Dead Redemption. I actually have Red Dead Redemption. It's on my shelf of unplayed games. One of the games I really want to play because there aren't enough Western games. Old West gunslinger kind of stuff. If you haven't, it may be kind of jarringly old at this point, but if you can dig older games, Activision's Gun. That was a really fun game. I really enjoyed that one. That was GameCube, PS2, Xbox era. It's a wonderful little game. It's actually a lot of fun. I recommend that one. It's a Western game and it's fun. So Kelly's played Red Dead Redemption. It's awesome, man. She never played Undead Night. I think it's Undead Nightmare. I think my copy of the game actually comes with that because I bought it well after it came out. So buttons. Matthew, I saw the article you linked me on Twitter about EVE Online. Interesting story. Unfortunately, I don't play EVE Online, so it's hard for me to discuss because I don't really know enough about the game to really understand the hoopla around it. But after reading the story, I would say, can't we all just get along? Or at the very least, have fun in a large multiplayer community. But if your fun is making life miserable for a bunch of other people, maybe try another way to have fun. Like if you're choking the life out of the chat or the message board and no one else can get to enjoy it, you're being kind of a jerk. Don't do that. Um, but apparently there was apparently people were like clogging something with anime memes. Um, and a solution that someone came up with like way late in the game after they had tried banning anime outright. It's like that's no. As I read the article, they're like, oh, let's ban the anime. I'm like, oh, that's going to go well. Yeah. And halfway down the article, they're like, well, we tried something where you could apply a filter. So if you didn't want to see all the anime, you didn't see all the anime. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like kind of the thing you should have done in the first place. But again, I don't play EVE Online, so I don't really have an understanding of the game mechanics, and the community surrounding it. But definitely an interesting story. Um, and as Matthew points out, it's a big deal because conflicts in EVE and in that game can take months. Yeah, because there's a ton of people playing it, and it it's kind of like a video game soap opera. Do any of you watch soap operas? I don't, but my mom and my sister at one point watched a soap opera called Passions. Passions. Um, Now, the thing about Passions, and from what I understand, this is pretty consistent with really any soap opera. I found it really funny because I came home from college or something, and Mom and Kelly were watching Passions, and I was like watching what happens. I'm like, is that the dude in the closet? Is he still hiding in the closet? Wait, is this a rerun? And they're like, no, there aren't reruns. It continues week to week. I'm like, he was hiding in that closet when I last saw this show 3 months ago. Wait, is everyone still stuck on that ship in the power outage? Yeah, it's the same night. It's been 3 months! This show has been going on for 3 months, and 2 minutes have passed in game time or in show time. It's taken them 5 months or 3 months of show to go through about 2 minutes. God, I thought some of the anime I watched was long-winded. Jeez. On the other hand, it is nice that you don't have to really commit to a soap opera. You could just pick that. It's like, oh man, I haven't watched Passions in a month. It's fine. Everyone, the pieces are in the same place on the chessboard. No one's moved an inch. You would have maybe 5 years later you would have some catching up to do, but if you've only been gone a few weeks or a couple of months, you're fine. Same night, no one's done anything. Oh my god, is she still proposing to that guy? How does that work? Anyway, so yeah. How did I get on that? um Ooh, if Nintendo ever came out with an aromascope console utilizing the five senses, how would you market it? Okay, so if Nintendo ever came out with a console that utilized the five senses, how would I market it? I would market it as a sex toy. I'm not kidding, and I would be rich. Finally, a video game you can have sex with. Not only do you see and hear the video game, but you can lick it too. And it doesn't taste terrible like the Switch cartridges. So, yeah. 13 Cube, did you prefer Shadowgate over Deja Vu? Honestly, as big a D&D fan as I am, I actually preferred Deja Vu. Um, And I think the reason I prefer Deja Vu over Shadowgate is two reasons. One, I think Shadowgate was just kind of mechanically mean. Uh, I mean, too mean. That game would kill you at the drop of a hat. Oh, hey, an item. It's not nailed down, so I will pick it up. You instantly die. Oh, well, okay. It was one of those kind of games where the most innocuous stuff would get save and reload a lot in that game. Um, so I think Shadowgate. Are we talking? We're talking like the original NES Shadow, the one on the NES, right? Is the one I'm talking about. That game was mean. Great game, but damn, is it mean? Um, Deja Vu is you play a private investigator and you end up punching an alligator at one point. I really like Deja Vu. I'm probably more inclined to the fantasy Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but Deja Vu, it's noir style was something I'd really never seen in a video game before at that point, and that uniqueness really attracted me to that game. And it's probably why I hold it in a bit higher esteem today than I do Shadowgate. So both great games, though. Um, I am falling a little far behind because I'm going off in like 5 minute tangents on every single comment. So let's see. You'd like, let's see. All my children, all through my childhood up until 2011 when it went off the air has been going on for over 40 years. Yo, God, what is I think Days of Our Lives has been going on for multiple decades too. Uh, Nightmare Ninja. Sorry, what did I miss? Nothing really important. um, the Switch is close to becoming a sex toy. Senran Kagura for Switch. Anybody? It's hard not to imagine or believe that that game is anything other than a character groping simulator, because that's all they've shown so far. That seems to be the selling point of that game. Jiggly pudding. Um, about Senran Kagura, did I see your comment? Let me scroll back up. Nope, I don't think I did. Anyway, GameFAQs has a guide to all the deaths. I don't. I'm trying to remember if I played Uninvited. I don't think I did. I did play Shadowgate and Deja Vu though, and I really enjoyed Deja Vu. Um, enjoy Shadowgate too. Mean game though. Oh, General Hospital. Yeah, there's another one that's been on forever. Oh, it's in the video. Okay. Um, all right. Well, that's over about the game. Yeah. That's pardon me. That's yeah. It's 8:40 now. So I guess if you're not watching the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which you probably should be instead of watching me, now you can go watch what's the other uh, not the White House Correspondents' Dinner thing with Samantha Bee. So that could be fun. Anyway, yeah, I think that's good for the. A Nightmare says that the Senran Kagura is a dating sim, from what he said. Yeah, it sounds like they haven't really started developing the game yet. They're trying to get. We want to make sure we can get these boobs feeling right, but because if we can't get the boobage feeling right, then it's not worth making a game, is it? So, um, anyway, okay, that's enough out of me. I've been rambling for a while. I hope you've enjoyed my rambles and my squeaky, squeaky, squeaky chair. So thank you everyone for taking time out of your night to watch the show and hang out with me. Really appreciate it. Be back next week. In the meantime, maybe give my new YouTube show debut review a watch. Because I have 10,000 subscribers and only 100 people watch that show. Maybe it's not interesting to you, and if it isn't, that's totally cool. But it's giving me an excuse to watch all the anime, so I'm having fun with it. Next episode is Monday, and I think it's the World Yamizukan or something like that. it's almost a short Tales from the Crypt esque series of short anime show segments. So should be fun. Anyway, thank you all. By the way, Andrew Eisen, Eisen, at Andrew Eisen on Twitter, and you'll find my stuff on YouTube. So there we have it. I'm going to get some WD-40 because this chair, man, this chair. Good night, everybody.